Next up on the agenda, that brings us to Resolution 2019-08. This will establish the ad valorem tax levy for collection in 2020.
Move roll.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the ad valorem tax levy proposal as presented. And this is... It has been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 2019-8. This will establish the ad valorem tax levy for collection 2020. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. That brings us to reports. Chamber of Commerce. I
Just
don't
tomorrow.
believe they have a report, yeah. EDC, Aslan's in Ohio. VCB has provided a report to you for you to read at your leisure. Fire District, they have a new commissioner. Congratulations, John O'Callahan.
Thank you.
Library provided a report. Museum.
Real quick, we're almost at 70 people that have come through. As of the 22nd of this month, I've got one more tour, and that'll get us pretty close to 70 people that have come through for a tour of the museum during the off season.
Since summer, since it closed?
Yeah.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah.
Excellent. Arts Commission does not exist yet. Civil Service Commission has not moved yet. Planning Commission, any reports from planning?
So with little official business, I mean, you know, there's no subdivisions that are not already in the works or anything like that. Planner Penrose agreed to present his own version, I guess, of the state's short course
Short local planning.
on local planning. When I say his version, it's not the 3-hour brief, it's the actual course. He got the course materials and he's walking our planning commissioners, he's calling it GMA 101. So last meeting, they analyzed our Growth Management Act and then looked at our comprehensive plan to see how we applied it here in the city of Tenino. And tomorrow night, he's going to introduce the State Environmental Policy Act, or SEPA, and the SEPA checklist, because from an environmental perspective, the state's act and the state's checklist are more comprehensive and go into more detail than the Federal Environmental Protection Act. So that's the standard that Tenino uses when people present us with a development request. So the Growth Management Act, our own comprehensive plan, the State Environmental Policy Act, the SEPA checklist, and then I think he has two more iterations of GMA 101, and they will be, I mean, they'll be ready to handle any action we want to throw at them.
And if anybody here wants to participate or come and witness those classes, you're welcome. If we do get a couple more than 3 council members, that's okay, because you're not, yeah, you're going to be sitting in the audience. You're not having a council meeting. Just don't create a meeting and let us know so that we could just kind of give them a heads up. But yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested, you know, it's a good education.
And that goes for members of the public as well. If you want to learn about why we can and can't do certain things, come on down.
Figure.
No, we haven't had a meeting.
Okay.
Money.
Chief of Police. King Fuzz.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. Robert Swain, your Chief of Police for the City of Tenino. Couple of things. The Mayor and I met with Sheriff Snaza today. The meeting went very well, I thought. There's some discussion about our receiving our commissions back from the Sheriff. For those of you that aren't familiar with that, commissions allow us the authority to go outside of the city limits of Tenino to take enforcement action if we need to. Now, I will tell you that where I come from, once you're the police whether you're in Tacoma, Tenino, or Seattle. And if you see a felony in progress, then you're required to take action. And here in Washington, they do it a little different. So, having said that, we're looking forward to some further discussion about that. Anything else that you want to add?
He had some very kind comments about the police department. He said that right now is the best that he's seen it in his career, the current state of our police department, as far as training, standards, officers. He thinks that we're in the best, right now, with leadership and what it is, we're in the best position that we've been in his career. So that was nice to hear.
That was, and as I've said before, he's been very supportive of me since I've been here. So we're happy to partner with him in public safety for Thurston County. A couple of other things that come to mind. We had our official department photograph done this last weekend. This is something that the mayor has asked us to do so that we can have a professional photograph hanging up in the city hall and our lobby at the police department, and maybe a couple other places around town so people know who their police department is, and it came out very well. We continue to move forward in some areas as we wind up the end of the year here. We've got a couple of things that we're working on with the schools. I went to the safety committee meeting last week and spoke to a group of parents that were there. Rachel was there with some other parents, and we discussed some of the safety measures that we've put in place with the school district, not the least of which is that we can all talk to each other on a radio if something goes awry at the schools, and law enforcement can talk to them and they can talk to us. So that's going to help out when there's some sort of activity going on there that requires a police response. We haven't really had anything big other than we did have a very serious accident that occurred on 507 right above my house, as a matter of fact. And so my response time was pretty much nil. I just had to drive up the street and I was there. But it was a full head-on collision, resulted in 3 transported to the hospital with broken bones, and a couple of charges of vehicular assault. State Patrol came in and assisted and helped us get through the investigation, as well as the Sheriff's Department. So it took quite a bit of resources to work that out. We got it done before it got real busy on 507, so we were lucky with that. But it was a humdinger, as they say, of an accident. So yeah. Other than that, I don't want to take up all the time here, but I'm open for any questions you might have on anything.
Truck.
Oh yeah.
Repair the truck done.
Yes. So my truck, unfortunately, I was driving down the road and it started kind of doing this with me and giving me a backache, and so I went and had it checked out, and it turns out the coils went bad. I was operating on 4 or 6 instead of 8. Anyway, it's, you just let me get the truck, and I didn't know there was a problem with it. I was told that it would be fine, and so it was about $2,000 worth of work, and it's not budgeted for. And so with the mayor's recommendation and your authorization, the mechanics shop down the street here indicated that they would take our cruiser that we're gonna surplus anyway and trade for the work and that was done on the truck. So
Okay.
we're not gonna be out any money as long as I have your permission. Apparently this has been done before, is what I'm told, so.
Yeah.
So I wanna, yeah, kinda.
As long as it's no personal gain.
Yeah. As long as it's not anything involving me personally, we're good, so.
Hang on, it is perfectly legal what happened. It was pointed out to us during the audit that the only step we missed
truck
in a previous iteration is
They don't like us horse
to somebody other than the city to estimate what the value of the thing is. And they did that. They got an independent estimate of the worth of the cruiser, and then they negotiated the deal with Valley Automotive, so it's all above board.
With the truck bed, it was like, Troy was like, nah, $3,000.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we're good. Take it away.
Well, those coils that's just something that can happen anytime. That's not like they're trying
That's-
to hide something on us. That's just something that can fail.
That's my understanding, is those things could.
The sheriff's
could go
department didn't
in.
pull a fast one on us.
Yeah, I know.
Get this thing out of here quick.
I was gonna make a phone call, but the mayor talked me out of it, so.
That's why he came down and said such nice things.
Those suckers.
Yeah,
Wanna buy
yeah,
another car?
yeah, I got them now.
Yeah.
Be careful if he wants to sell you a bridge.
I know, right? Yeah, so anyway, okay,
Thank you,
thanks.
sir.
Thank you.
Director of Public Works, Mr. Troy Cannon. Got all dressed up for us today.
How'd you know?
Got a clean shirt on.
Got my fancy pants on
Yeah,
and a clean
fancy
shirt.
pants.
All tucked in too. I'm usually got the shirt tucked out. Good evening. How's everyone going? Good. No issues at the plant last month, but we've had a lot of issues with sewer pumps. I don't know if there was conversation or what about how far over we are in that line item for repairs and maintenance, but this year has been a pretty big hit. I think that extends back for how these pumps are kind of in their lifespan. I know everything's coming up right now with the water meters and now sewer pumps, but sewer pumps is we've always kind of had a problem with, but I think those are one of our issues too that we need to take care of and start planning for. And I think I did. I put some money in there, hopefully it's in there, to replace these pumps with a different brand. That's the Liberty pumps. I explained those to you, I think last time or a couple times ago. So, but yeah, I just wanted to inform you that we are way over in that line item. I mean, I tried my hardest not to, but it's just something we have to spend. But we winterized the bathrooms, got those all shut down for the winter. Of course, no camp's closed. We'll put up a sign. What else? We've been working on our addition to our shop. We've got pretty much all sided in and everything, roofed and so forth, and we're gonna start the other side and get that done. I think right now, I mean, I know we budgeted like 45, 50 grand. I think right now I've got like 6 into it. So we're way under, but we're doing it ourselves. So I think the bid was, that's just bid that out to have someone else do it, so. If you guys got any questions about the meters, I was running some numbers back there. If you guys got any questions, maybe I can answer them.
This seems to make sense to me, just to replace those ones that are out of warranty and so we can get good information by just driving without having to
Yeah,
start
so
with that.
And
if,
those have got a couple
And I
of
think,
years, you know.
I guess my question was, I mean, we have in our water fund money set aside for replacement of that type of stuff.
In the collection system, where would that come out of?
the sewer? No, oh, on the water
Meters
itself?
come out of water.
Yeah.
Or capital.
Two sources. You could play it either way. You could make the case either way. Water meters break. That's why we have maintenance. We have a maintenance line in the water fund. So, you know, some amount of them
Mhm.
could be just the cost of normal operations replacing those meters. The capital improvement fund is probably where we look at taking the money for the tower or something like that. But I think, or it could all come out of there.
Well, I mean, initially I was thinking, oh, I want this whole thing, but it doesn't make sense until we've
built out.
until we built out the meters.
Right.
Well, that's what I was going through, is even if we replace the
And it would be
old,
stupid of us to go 120 grand.
Right.
Yeah, let's do it.
the old 3Gs, if we were to go through and replace all the ones that are turning bad and the ones that, are impeached and stuff, that's 70 grand if we replace all those meters. That's the old ones. So if we replace the meters, just the registers on those, with brand new registers throughout the city, that's 91,000. That's just registers.
For all of them,
Yes.
not
Correct.
just those portion that are
Correct.
going out of warranty.
Correct. Yep. With the discounted price.
Yeah.
That's in there. Yeah.
When you say discounted price, that's
For
not
the
including the ones that are under warranty.
correct. The one I didn't add the ones that are still under warranty even in there because we're not replacing
Okay.
those.
I thought you were.
No, so the one that are impeached, the 264 of them, that's the ones.
Impeached?
Those are the ones that are under
Is that
warranty.
the right word?
What he keeps saying, I don't know. Might not be. I probably just pulled that out of the
I
air.
don't know.
Sound good to me.
Yeah,
Anyway,
you
the
know,
ones that
watching
are
this
under warranty,
Yeah.
let me say that under warranty, the ones that we had replaced, those are the 264 meters.
Okay.
So I have those old 3G meters, but if I put them in, that means we're using them.
Yeah.
I can't give them back to them. You understand? So if I use those meters right now, then we're using them.
Do we wanna put old technology?
Do we wanna
in?
put the old ones in, or do you wanna get a credit for getting the, credit?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So my suggestion would be to get a proposal for us to, with the exact numbers it's gonna cost to replace those, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
264, whatever the
The
new.
For the-
minimum amount, the ones that are going
That's what I
out
would do.
of warranty. But are you talking about replacing the whole meter or just replacing the
The
register?
registers, that's all we have to do to replace the registers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you are going to get the numbers to just replace the registers on the meters that are going out of warranty.
Right, so we have 324 that are out of warranty. We have the 264 that were under warranty that they replaced, but I'm not gonna put those in. Those are the ones that are gonna be
Those are
correct.
gonna get sent back.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yep. Mhm.
And then that figure, you're gonna bring to us downstairs.
Yeah, plus,
Like tomorrow,
yeah, I can make it far, plus the software for the,
first thing in the morning.
yeah, sure, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right after
Unless the software.
You need to work at 5.
yeah, I need to, I gotta get the
Yes,
software
and the
price
software
and all
and the
that stuff. I'm
training.
not gonna get the tower price right now, I'm just gonna do the software, whatever we need.
Yeah, we're not,
And the training.
Yes,
okay.
yeah, okay, that's it, any
Thank you,
questions?
Troy.
Okay, thanks.
City clerk treasurer.
Anybody wanna talk any more about the budget?
No.
So we arm wrestled the state auditor's office and we kinda won. What we arm wrestled them for was the ability to address some things that, since we addressed them, will not be held against us in the report. It cost us another $1,600 because we had to meet with them and we're gonna meet another time. But that exit brief will be at November 20th here at City Hall at 10 a.m. Y'all are welcome to come. There's not much going on with our grants, good or bad. It's just the time of year. Everybody's focused on other things, not grants. Not that things haven't been going on. With respect to the City Hall renovation, the architects have produced a drawing of the interior and exteriors, and they're starting to address the things that we want to fix and the costs associated with them. And they're coming in fairly reasonable. We had thought we were going to have to do some major work on the HVAC system here, but come to find out, we won't. During the energy efficiency install, when they took the fossil fuel furnace out and put the heat exchangers in, there was an option that we did not exercise to put automatic doors in the vents. So down below us here, in the room immediately below us, there's the recirculating air system. Two things about it. One, since they didn't put those louvers on, they're open to the outside. So if it's hot outside, hot air comes in. If it's cold outside, cold air comes in. It's exacerbated by the fact that the system is not programmed properly, so that air exchanger system is running 24 hours a day when it doesn't need to. The computer that is installed is supposed to integrate that ventilating system with the 4 different types of manufacturers of the heat exchangers that we have. That's a mess. And over and above that, these are heat pumps, not furnaces or air conditioners. So if you come up and touch the control, particularly on the heat side of the house, it takes quite a while to bring the temperature up. And you know, it's today. When it's cold, we want it warm. When it's warm, we want it cold. So there's some behavior modification that goes into it as well. The good news is, the engineer agreed with the heating folks that came out and made the recommendation, is we can fix the HVAC under normal maintenance probably for less than $10,000. When we were looking at $100 grand during the rental. So that's like making up $90,000. What are we going to do with that? Well, now we can actually replace the carpet and things like that. So right now we're still looking at the roof replacement. That's probably going to be in the neighborhood of $100,000. Retucking the mortar, again in the neighborhood of $100,000. Turning council chambers into a council chamber. And then we have the overhead. So we have $90,000 yet to play with. Troy and I have talked about it. We'd like to see carpeting and interior paint, which was not included under the reno. We wanted to get the major structural things fixed. So that reno is moving slowly, but it's moving. We can see construction probably this spring starting. And the same is true with the infrastructure extension to the ag park property. The engineer has been out here. He's spoken with Troy. They have a plan for, there's one section of the roadway where the shoulders are not wide enough to give us the necessary separation for the pipes underneath the ground. So they're going to fix it by using a horizontal boring machine, and at some point before the restriction, they're going to bore across the highway underneath, run on the north side of Old 99, and then bore back down and go down. And the cost will be the same as if they had opened the trench. So, you know, it's a good news story. They had a problem, they solved it, and it didn't cost us any more money. They're just waiting for the weather to be, you know, more conducive to get that construction going. The wide area network has been established. The new equipment has been installed here at City Hall. We have one additional workstation that's going to be placed out at Public Works. We didn't put it out there because Tenino Telephone had just got done installing the fiber, and the device to put the fiber to the computer wasn't there. So if we couldn't put it into operation, we weren't going to unbox it. So that's still downstairs. The team went out to the police department, and they coordinated with Ms. Rodriguez, who's my counterpart at the police department. We're going to negotiate with the vendor to get 2 of the same type of workstations we have downstairs now installed at the police department. That was not part of the original discussion because our plan was to use the laptops that are in the vehicles. They were going to pull them out and use docking stations in the station. What we've finally figured out is that's not a good technique for those things. They really need to stay locked in the police car for, you know, there's a couple, 3 different reasons. they need to stay locked in the police cars. They don't need to, if you minimize the in and out, it's a lot easier on both the device itself, the network system that it operates on, and of course the officers. So just leave them locked. We'll put two workstations in the back for them to use, and right now it's been tried out by just about all of us. We can go to any workstation now, log in, and access the system. So that was a huge deal that we've kind of put to bed. We're still throwing individual pieces of equipment out there, but it's working. Those of you that have had challenges with the email no longer have challenges, I don't think. We've got that fixed. We here at the city now can, I'm looking at her, but she's not the only one that's had the issue.
I still can't get it on here, but I've got it on my phone, so.
Well, but that's
And I got it
that.
at home, so.
See, those devices aren't registered on our network. They don't need to be, but it causes issues. So it's actually kind of exciting to hear about this new network system, and my questions are really, how's that thing going to work with this new network? I think it will work well. We just got to bring right systems in on the discussion so that when this thing gets installed, you know, there's a path to bring it in, and that will address the security issues that you were concerned about.
I'm interested in the analytics side of it.
Well, we'll get it behind our firewall, and those will not be challenges for us. So if any of your questions, that's my report.
My report, you heard most of it throughout the meeting, so there's been a lot of budget talks, and then figuring out, you know, we did a lot of prep work trying to figure out what the sheriff did call for the meeting, and so we were like, why? There were some letters that we got previously in the year that were kind of, it was almost like there were two different veins and philosophies, like we were getting it from two different sheriffs, but you know, we get one letter that says, well, we're not going to provide, you know, we're not going to go to calls in Tenino anymore, and the next one was like, hey, we want a mutual aid agreement. So we're like, what do you want? And so, you know, when the chief and I were in there for about 3 hours today, it seemed to go well. I'm waiting for a letter tomorrow that says something completely different from the undersheriff, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. We did do, or the chief and Maria did a great job putting data together and kind of figuring out, you know, what, you know, when you just look at the raw data from dispatch that says that the sheriff's department had 60 calls for service in May in the city of Tenino. You gotta look further into that, and what those, you know, just because it says 60 calls for service from dispatch, then we look and well, we only paid them for 2 calls that they responded on. What are those other 58? And so and this is common practice within the police department. If our officers are cruising around town and they go by the school, they will call dispatch and they'll let dispatch know, hey, I'm out at the school doing a school check. At night, they're cruising around the business district, and they will let dispatch know that they're doing a business check, or they're doing traffic enforcement on the end of town. All cops do that, including the sheriff's department, and so there are deputies that are in the David district that'll cruise to Tenino, and they might go maybe 5 of them go have lunch at Scotty B's, 5 of them call themselves out at Scotty B's for lunch. Those are 5 calls for service. Or deputy so-and-so stops by to see his wife at the elementary school during the day, and he calls himself out doing a school check. So you take the raw data and you kind of brush through that, and the actual calls for service, the ones where it would be, you know, officer so-and-so is requesting that a deputy come and assist them, those are more mutual aid, and those don't count. So it's the ones where you know, chief has been hammered for 2 days, the other officers are off, and you know, so you know, chief is doing triage, but maybe there's a reason that he's not going to make it to this call that came out at 3 in the morning, and a deputy went to a DV on such and such street, and they were there, and you know, maybe the chief says, well, all right, you clear it, I'm not going to show up. They will charge us for that. Am I getting this all right? They will charge us for that, and we will pay them for that. And what was the number for this year? How much did we, it was like $2,700?
Yeah, it's under 3.
Yeah, for the entire year of
It
2019.
has been around 8.
Yeah, in years past it was around $8,000. When we had an agreement with them to provide services from like 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., we were paying them, I want to say $10,000 a year or $20,000 a year. Right? It was $20,000 a year, and we only went halfway through that agreement, so they only got 10 out of us. We were paying them $20,000 a year, and just like as an insurance policy, that agreement was ended by the sheriff. He said, no, we're not going to do that anymore. We'll just pay you by call. In 2019, that's amounted to $2,700.
That's great.
That's pretty good, yeah.
He did us a big favor.
Yes.
Can't shake
I'm not sure it was intentional. I don't know why that happened. But if you look at what we've done is we've become a much more functional police department, and we are much more independent, and we are not needing that assistance as much. And a big part of our discussion today is we want to make sure that we are strong partners for the sheriff's department. That is why we feel that the commission is important, so that we can reciprocate the assistance, so that we can get out there for them and help them, because we know that they are, what did the sheriff say today, that they are the 37th worst staffed county sheriff department. Yeah, in the state. The only place that's worse is Clark County and Island County, as far as deputies per resident. So they are strapped for personnel, and we want to be strong partners for them. We are in a good position to help them. They are in a good position to help us. So that was a lot of what we talked about. And so that's kind of our mission with them, is to be the best partners we can be. That's it for my report. Be that.
Yeah, it looks like they had a good turnout for the take-back medicine. 70 pounds worth.
Wow.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. And then the next meeting is the 18th in Bucota.
Okay. CIP.
I actually missed that meeting. They were just basically talking about for the next round of grants, what the criteria was going to be. But I don't have the notes from it yet.
Solid Waste Advisory.
Another interesting meeting there. So we've gone through put this whole plan together that it was required by ecology, and with all the changes, it got delayed. Now it's got to the point where it's been so long again, ecology wants us to go back and update
Start
the whole
over.
plan. So basically, we've been doing this for like 3 years, and still have not got a finalized plan together. So we're basically, a lot of it's good still, but we still have to go back and basically update numbers, and the ecology's requiring us to get some information from the UTC, which regulates the rates, and so we'll see if we ever get an actual plan in place. Sometimes I doubt it, but so that's basically the big subject there.
TCOM. Go ahead, sir. Big news with TCOM is their Prop 1 passed.
So, two things. One, Mr. Millar is still working on the resolution so that we can get our seat on the board. Because the prop passed, the millions of dollars that's going to produce for a brand new radio system throughout the entire county, as well as mobile radios, handheld radios, and dispatch will get a whole new look to it because of that. So until we get a seat at the table, my feeling is that we're going to be last to get radios, to get the up-to-date infrastructure that everybody else is going to have, and it'll be phased in because it's such a large project. So what I'm hearing at the operational meetings at TCOM is that they're going to start phasing in the mobile radios, the car radios first, and then the handhelds will come next. And all of this is dependent on, of course, ordering directly from Motorola and what they have available and so forth. So So it's a huge heavy lift for Thurston County. But it won't happen in my time with you, but it's gonna happen, and it'll be a great system once they get it done. So, any questions about the radio system and what it involves?
We're on the, yeah, 70 feet, 70 feet.
Maybe we need to negotiate a tower for our,
Yeah, kill two birds with one stone.
Stranger things have happened.
Tenino School Board.
Like Chief was saying, they had, the district held the safety meeting last week, and I was actually really glad I went, because the chief and a gentleman from the Sheriff's and Chiefs Association was there, and they are working with the schools and helping them on vantage points and, putting in the new system as far as safety and stuff, and it was basically also to notify parents too on what do we do in a disaster, how do we get our kid from school, or where do we go, which, I would have done the wrong thing. So, yeah, it was really nice, I'm glad I went, and Chief, thank you so much for everything you're doing for the schools. For
Thank
me
you.
personally, who have kids in the district, I walked away feeling so much better, I know my children are safe.
Well, there was something on Facebook about that, somebody said
Yeah.
thank you very much, that they felt a lot better about it.
Yeah, it was amazing, and the kids have already started responding to the reserve officer. I have to tell you, I'm gonna tell on her, but Jason's daughter told me how cool it was to see an officer, and they got to talk to him.
Oh, really?
And then Chief, when you brought the dog, your pup, that was really cool. So all the kids are really starting to,
That's good.
yeah. So, and in other news, 8th grade band gets to go with the high school to Disneyland this year. So if you happen to run into an 8th grader or high schooler, they're selling donuts from Krispy Kreme. I'm already
Dust 'em off.
7 dozen in. Yeah. Yeah, so it's about $1,100 to go per child. So they're doing fundraisers all over the place, but
A lot of donuts.
yeah, my son's really disappointed he didn't do band this year.
Oh, man.
My dad,
Yeah.
it's quite an experience for them.
I would've gone too.
And
I'll
then
chaperone.
the soccer team's going to state.
Yeah,
As district champion.
Yeah, that's amazing.
yeah.
First time, right, ever?
The soccer team, yeah, they're,
Girls are doing amazing, and they're so much fun to
They
watch.
will host their first state game, and if they win that, they will host their second state game.
really,
The first state game is Wednesday night,
here,
tomorrow
Yeah,
night,
tomorrow
here
night.
at 6 o'clock.
it'll
If
work.
they win that, they will be the host team for their second game, which will be the 16th, 17th, or 18th, or, yeah.
Who are they playing tomorrow?
South Whitby,
Okay,
the number 14 from District 1 and 2 combined.
wow, that's exciting.
Where will the championship be?
TRPC. Are we gonna have some cops there tomorrow night, showing off?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
So I sent you a summary of our meeting today. If you didn't see it, it's on there. The biggest thing that was talked about at the meeting was intercity transit. They passed Proposition 1, so they have some additional funding, that they've been able to do some significant changes, and that's all documented. If you want to see that there's a presentation on the link that I sent you. But the interesting thing is that, and I kind of knew this before, but they collect fares. Fares are about 9% of what they collect, of the money they received is from fares. And I don't know if it's part of this Proposition 1, but they had somebody do a study. By the time they install the infrastructure in the buses to collect the fares, pay all the fees it cost them more to collect the fees than they were making from them.
That seems absurd.
It seems absurd.
Yes.
And it's like you get a check for 20 cents from a company. You say, why do you even do this? It costs you more to write the check than it does. So there's going to be no fares on the buses anymore.
can we go back to bus drivers like with shaking coins and?
Yeah.
Which they say is a huge, I mean, I don't know enough about this stuff but what they say is it's a huge benefit for people, low-income people that don't have,
Sure.
that can't afford transportation.
We just put a bucket and take quarters in a bucket.
And the
That's-
second thing
that's-
is, they save thousands and thousands of hours in time because they don't have to sit there and wait for people to put the money in the thing. So it saves them thousands of hours of time, and times travel time, not having to wait for people to put
That's
these
the
fares.
giving them the tickets,
Yeah.
the bus passes.
So, and
Put
then
a
they're.
quarter in a bucket.
Yeah.
That's a real simple solution. I don't get
No,
it.
but then they would have to pull a.
Have a quarter, you don't get on the bus.
The other
You
big
gotta count
thing,
it too.
the other big thing they're doing an express route from the Lacey Martin Wade Park and Ride to the west side that will have limited stops. I think it's like an hour trip now. It's gonna be just like a 30-minute
Are
trip.
they coming to Tenino?
Yeah.
Next subject.
So, yeah, but it does affect our people. They can tie into the system with our rural, RT.
It's
So,
not even practical.
yeah, that's what I say.
It's
too.
not even practical.
Really?
Oh, no. They pick you up here at 6 o'clock in the morning, drop you off in Tumwater. If you work downtown, then you gotta wait and catch another bus to go downtown. You know, I don't use it because I have to leave my house at 5:30 in the morning
So
to
there's
get to
still issues in the
Tumwater,
world.
or to get to the bus,
Yeah.
catch the bus, get off at Tumwater, and be to work at 8 o'clock. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very difficult, I think, but, anyway, that was the big thing. The other thing is coming up is, our project for the trail is on their list for next year's projects to do, look at more study. I think there's a study to, you know, how that would all happen. That's on the project list for next year, or work on next year. Dakota or West, whichever.
For the transportation policy board.
Yeah. And then there's gonna be, I think you guys are working on criteria for looking at new projects to be added to it coming up here soon, so.
It's a revamp of the whole plan. It's for the 2040.
And I guess my thought on that is how, I mean, we don't get much out of that. And obviously, a lot of the transportation is in the core of the county, but we should get something, in our rural district should get something out of this that guarantees some kind of, I would think, you know, for roads, we're talking about roads earlier, even if it's $50,000, you can put it in a pot and save it.
I'm really cynical about road money.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't understand. I still can't even figure out how it all works. All these
Yeah.
federal and state grants and county and how it all works together, but hopefully John can
Cut
get
the
through all
red
that.
tape for us.
Been there a little while.
So those are the two big things on
We
the,
got flying cars, we wouldn't need roads.
Actually, Channel 13 last week had a thing about flying cars.
Believe it.
They were laughing about it.
Oh,
I kid you
nobody's
not.
That's
laughing
what
at John
we put on the
anymore.
prairie, a flying car heliport out there instead of all those warehouses.
They were laughing about it.
Yeah.
Bill Wixie and Trevor, whatever his name is, they were making fun of the whole thing, not knowing that everybody in transportation is actually starting to look at that stuff
Yeah.
now. But that's a whole different subject.
Public comment period number 2. If there's anyone in the public that would like to provide comment, please come forward and do so at this time. You'll be given 3 minutes. State your name and address. All right. Any announcements?
Yeah, TPB is tomorrow. I would imagine the agenda that we have because of the election, we're gonna be looking at things a little bit differently.
Yeah. All right. Hearing none further, we will adjourn the meeting.
I'm going to do a motion.
Hey Joyce, Donna, she did pass away. In New Mexico, the father found her this morning.
I heard you were cleaning up the police station.
Pig pen, get it?
Maybe so you talk about what said, I just know what they said.
Isn't that what you're doing?
See ya, my pleasure. Not next, our next meeting, meeting discussion, so that's,
Anyway, Judy,
2 weeks, third, so whatever,
Second and fourth. Second and fourth Tuesday, not the first and third.
Knowing for the
I
last.
get you the exact date.
Yeah.
You know why we changed it from first and third? So we can go to the last one.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Mark,
anyway, Judy.
did you go to any?
November
Did you?
26th.
I went to Portland instead. I don't like going to Florida, I like getting out of town.
Well, I like that better. Well,
I'm the party chairman. See you.
yeah, no decisions can be made.
See you, Rachel.
You could have, you could talk about it. Sorry. I'm happy.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Friday, 9:00.
Friday, 9:00.
Oh, you got it so much. On Friday?
It's been a nice day.
Do you want to do 10?
That'll work.
Yeah.
Look, I start replacing meters, man.
Oh, yeah.
So right now,
We'll see.
I'd rather